I choose to walk in the spirit is difficult, dealing with all of the ignorance. But in the Bible, it's still talking about the Bible. What is the benefit? Everything about you counterfeit. There ain't no rebuttal you can counter with. On the internet, you the master teacher. In real life, you powerless. Keep it real with you, I don't have time for this. I ride for this, my forefathers died for this. They cry for this opportunity presently I possess, and right now you are the opposite. If you walk in love, you fulfill the law. Don't get involved and you ain't giving it all. If you ever think it's cool to threaten another man's family, then you already lost. Chemtrails got aluminum, heavy metal saturate the atmosphere. Manhattan Project, time travel, Mandela effect, what happened here? GMO food processing to the whole world become obsolete. A black man who believes in Jesus got my own team taking shots at me. You trespassing on property that you don't fully understand properly. All the back and forth, that's not for me, that's for ROC and the war machine. If we ride together, then we ride together. If we can't do it, I'd rather leave. I still stand on the word of God till the day I die and no longer breathe. We trapped inside the diaspora, nightmares of the massacre. Cold sweat, I'm below deck in the middle passage, just a passenger. Revolutionary hardcore, liberation, that's a hard job. You ain't ready, you a oddball. Keep your mouth closed like lockjaw. I learned trying to bring people together on the same page, make them separate. All the talk about reconciliation, when the time comes, you hesitate. If Jesus was able to sit at the table with a bunch of sinners, you very fake. Your steps ordered by the Lord, and how it was yesterday, your big mistake. We the city sitting on the hill. Guess it all depends on how you live. Guess it all depends on how you feel, and we both know that ain't God's will. I stood on what I felt was right. I don't never question if God's real. Trapped inside this matrix, I'm about to pop the red and the blue pill.
Bless them which persecute you. Bless and curse not. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind one toward another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, said the Lord. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12:14-21.
You're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny. I am Peyton Manning level, I'm on GOAT status. I think I'm the baddest mother lover ever walk on this planet. Damn it, you could never see me, you could never beat me, you could never beat me, disrespect me, and I'm eating all of your pizza. I know I'm not right, I know I'm not white, I know I'm gon' call the popo on you if you hit me. I don't fight, I'm a rapper, I don't write. Rio, you got all that hype, that's the stuff that I don't like. Why you laughing at my height? I wish I could slap your face. You just think you're so amazing, you just think that you're the greatest. Why you fucking Tom Brady? I am Peyton Manning, end of conversation. You just hating, I am Peyton Manning, say it. I am Peyton Manning, say it. No, Dibble God playing, that's a Drake line. Beat a midget up, that's a hate crime. A-Town zone 3 game time. Got the trunk knocking from the baseline. I'm all about the money, better crack a cake time. Chopsticks on deck, no Shanghai. 4-5, you come to my waistline. Keep the 4-5 tucked by my waistline. You soft in the middle like fruit pie. I know how for you to walk a straight line. You wouldn't throw trays in the food fight. That's what I heard through the grapevine. I know you don't mind wasting your time. I would just prefer you didn't waste mine. You gon' get what coming to you in due time. Little pussycat running from the K9. You're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not not Peyton Manning, Peyton Manning. You're not Peyton Manning, you're not Peyton Manning, Peyton Manning. You ain't nowhere in my category, mandatory for me to tell you that you were very boring. And the moral of the story, I wish I could just ignore you, but they gotta burn your body, put you in the crematorium. And I'm the only audio inside the auditorium. And when I'm finished with you, you will not have no memorial. You wanna be Luigi, but you're not ready for Mario. And no scenario, running circles around your cardio. And that's a body blow, it's not a secret. Everybody know that you ain't coming close. I leave you comatose, and you become a ghost. I overdose, I gotta overload. That's when the windows of heaven open up for me with the overflow. And I can feel the power moving within every last chromosome. Battle right around the corner, you already know it's on. Understand me, you're not Peyton Manning, you're not Peyton Manning. Woo!
We tend to isolate and not look at the cultural unity of Africa. Yeah. Most people who know, pre-colonial Africa, there's a cultural unity. Even though people may be Kisi and they're in Western Africa, but guess what? You know that their origins come from Eastern Africa. Yeah. So that's a part of Shea Antijoke showed that in pre-colonial Africa. So that's why I said, just like when we look at the Bakongo cosmogram downstairs, other African people have other names for that. They are going to tell us, as we look at Ladabella, what is that? Basically the same thing. So again, that's why I say so many times we try to isolate it. And with the Afro-Asiatic languages, it's not just, some Amharic, Ge'ez, yes, Arabic.
East Africans were the ones that primarily wrote in these Afro-Asiatic scripts. The issue is the majority of the slaves came from West Africa.
Historically, we know a large number of Africans were brought from West Africa as slaves. But we now also know that there were many Africans who were brought from the east side. We mentioned before Zanzibar, and even from Ethiopia.
William Hodgson went around recording Africans writing in these Afro-Asiatic languages. Hodgson later said he had all this access before to these Africans, but then later on, it stopped. He said that he was no longer allowed to have contact with them. Why is that? Because we understand politically what was happening. Because Europeans had said that Africans had no civilization. But because now he was showing that in fact these Africans had civilization by writing, that meant the abolitionists were now going to use that against them and say, they have writing, so that means they have civilization. So it's now going to debunk the myths and the stereotypes of saying Africans were uncivilized. In fact, Hodgson now realized that, hey, he was now becoming basically an asset for the abolitionists, but the folks who he was living with here in Savannah, so that it was going against their best interests.
William Hodges' discovery of Africans having writing became problematic for the treatment of slaves. The justification of the cruel treatment of slaves was based on the premise that they weren't completely human, more closer to animals. And we can see the cruel nature of this treatment reflected on how these slaves were transported to America.
On Sabilo, Bilali Muhammad, what they had called was his diary back in the 1800s. They later learned in the 20th century that actually he was writing the Risala, which is a West African legal text. Berset means the day is clean. But guess what? When we go to the Kemetic language, what do we use for dawn? Because basically the day is clean means dawn. But what is the word that we use there? The root? Akhet. Even though they may have been called in Quranic schools, they were also non-Muslim Africans who also going there. So that's why, again, I would say that cultural unity. The civilization, that again, that the argument is not being thwarted by what occurred here when these Africans are putting these writings down in the 1850s. So it's not just about a religious experience, first Africans are significant with regards to, but also with regard to the cultural phenomena of Africans here in the Americas. And that's why, again, a lot of people, not just here in the U.S., but in the entire Americas.
Raymond Money, the French scholar, has written a book in which, in fact, he talks about like Jewish settlements in Ghana. In those days, as you know, in North Africa and Spain, Jews and Muslims were in many ways very close. Sometimes there was conflict, but most of the time even the Kingdom of North Africa and Spain, there was what we call the golden age of Islam. There was a lot of collaboration between Jews and Muslims. But in any case, the existence of Jews in Ghana is already well documented.
Oh,
now that looks like a Sheen, a Hebrew Sheen.
Where? This one here.
The first one.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
What does Masjid Jihad, First African Baptist Church, literary works from the 19th centuries, and Amir Jamal Toure have in common? They all have some languages, a language that plays a role with regards to us and our culture and our history. I tell folks this often: African-American Christians tend to fight against traditions that come from Africa that are not tied to Christianity, that are part of your foundation. When we talk about the Black church has many traditions that are not tied to Christianity, or the origin's not tied to Christianity. It got melded into Christianity, so it becomes a part of it. And Masjid Jihad, First African Baptist Church, have something in common. What do they deal with? Arabic. Masjid Jihad is the oldest Muslim community in this area. And also, it deals with Arabic, just like at First African Baptist Church, because some of the people who were members of First African were Muslims in Africa, African Muslims, who now come over here. And these are the people that intimately know about Jesus. Yes, Jesus is important in Islam. So Jesus is a part of their story. So when they come over from Africa, they come with that knowledge with them. And they now go to places like First African, or just in the city of Savannah in general, or in this area in coastal Georgia, where they now are writing in Arabic in the 1800s, and not just 1800s, in the 1700s. Jamal, what are you saying? I'm saying not just about Arabic, but I'm saying other African languages were spoken right here in Savannah, Georgia, in coastal Georgia. In fact, Africans, your ancestors, people who are listening and looking right now, your ancestors in some cases spoke 7 languages right here. Up until the 1900s, French was spoken in Savannah, Spanish, Portuguese, German, Arabic, and other African languages, all spoken in the 1900s. And also, Amir Jamal Toure, that means speak Gullah. That means speaking Gullah. Because Gullah is our language, African language created right here. So this is all tied to Masjid Jihad, the Gullah language, because the first person to write the Gullah language is not in Charleston, South Carolina, not in Georgetown, South Carolina, not on St. Helena, not in Beaufort, but in Savannah, Georgia. His name is London. He's an African held in captivity. Oh, I said literary works. Guess what? London is known to have written the Gospel of John in Arabic in the 1800s in the Gullah language. So he didn't write it in English. He wrote it in the Gullah language, that African language. He is the first person to write the Gullah language. So you don't know your story like that, but that's why we want to share it with you, so you now have a full understanding. So the Gullah language, the first time it's ever written down is, again, not in Jacksonville, Florida, not in St. Augustine, Florida, not in Brunswick, Georgia, but in Savannah, Georgia, by an African by the name of London. And he's writing in Arabic. In addition, London takes it to another level. London also is writing gospel hymns in Arabic. I'll repeat, he's writing gospel hymns in Arabic. So again, here's somebody who's an African Muslim in Africa, but now when he comes over here and brought into the U.S., now become a Christian, because again, they understand that's a part of their fabric. They don't have any hatred, any dislike. So African-American Christians, I'd say to you, you can't be fighting about this story right here. Do not fight the Crusades. That's not your story, because you are all one people. Everyone understood the power of God and the importance of the messiahs and the prophets of God and the angels of God. So yes, First African Baptist Church, on the sides of the pews up there, you can see what pews are written, where they say, La ilaha illallah, which is there is no God but God, on the sides of the pews in First African Baptist Church. It's not Hebrew, it is Arabic. Because, see, again, when you don't know your story, you don't want to accept the fact that there were African Muslims that were brought over here who make up some of the members of your family tree. Your DNA, when you do your DNA research, you're not even understanding that it's African Muslims who make up a part of that. So London is writing in Arabic. But then let's go down to Sapelo. People like to talk about Sapelo Island. And there's a man on Sapelo Island who will write a work too. The Risala, which is a West African legal text. His name is Bilali Muhammad. So Bilali Muhammad and people from Sapelo, many of them like to pride themselves being descendants of Bilali. So I say to you, you must go ahead and let people understand there's nothing wrong with you having that Muslim family member on your family tree. That's part of your foundation, that best of the best. Also, on St. Simon's Island, you have Salih bin Ali, who also is conversant in Arabic in the 1800s, right here in coastal Georgia. But let's go up the road to a place called Charleston, South Carolina. His name is Omar ibn Said. Omar ibn Said wrote in Arabic in the 1800s the Lord's Prayer. He told them it was the Lord's Prayer in Arabic in the 1800s. But when it's translated in the 1900s, they said, oh no, this is Al-Fatiha. This is the opening to the Quran. He wrote that in the 1800s and was a part of a church called, or I should say, part of a group of people affiliated with a church called Emmanuel Amy Church. Mother Emmanuel Amy Church. Yes, Omar ibn Said. Again, once over here, he is now Christian, and he will now become a part of the fabric of the society right here. Omar ibn Said also is one of the members of the Denmark Vesey conspiracy that did not get lynched, did not get executed. All right, he survived it. They didn't know fully about his role in that with Gullah Jack and Denmark Vesey. But the story of Omar ibn Said doesn't end there. Again, we're talking about works that go back to the 1800s, excuse me. Omar ibn Said will write what is called one of the slave narratives. That is right about his own life, like Alado Equiano, Inicio Sancho. All of them wrote books about their lives in the 1800s and the 1700s. And one book that is written that is unique is written by Omar ibn Said. Omar ibn Said will have his book written about his life, his autobiography written about his life. And guess what? It was written in Arabic. So some scholars are going to say the only slave narrative to have been written in Arabic was written by a man by the name of Omar ibn Said. Yes, it's part of your history. So when people talk about Africans not having civilization, guess what? If you have some understanding, if you have writing, that means you have civilization. So again, that's why I tell people, when you're not going to cut off the branches of your family tree that tied to people who profess al-Islam, you cut off a part of your story with regard to the strength of your story with regard to your humanity. Tell folks, you got to open up. You got to understand. You got to understand other cultures and languages. Do not follow people who are ignorant, who don't understand that. That's why we are weakened. But when you have the power, you cannot show the connection. And those of us who are Gullah Geechee, the ring shout. You know the ring shout tradition when we go around counterclockwise. That came from the African Muslims because they could do everything except go to Hajj. So this tradition right here is our story. And that's why I say we need to understand it, because it shows our civilization, our connection to God, our power, and show how we're all one people. Don't let somebody separate us. And so that's the beauty of this right here. That again, there's a connection between all of us, the Gullah language right here in Savannah, Georgia, tied to Arabic. The Gullah language connecting people right here throughout the coastal areas of Georgia, South Carolina, and Northern Florida. Our power, our story. And also understanding when we write in Arabic right here in Savannah, Georgia, we authenticate and verify African civilization in your face. Let's go to Jamaica. In Jamaica, Africans wrote in Arabic in Jamaica. What do they do when they write in Arabic? They're keeping the books for the plantation owners in Jamaica. So essentially, they're serving as accountants with regards to that in Jamaica in the 1600s and 1700s. Also, let's go to another place called Brazil. And Brazil, when they went to have their rebellions, they wrote in Arabic also because the Portuguese didn't know it. And they could then go and fight. And there's a man by the name of Francisco Menendez who was in a place called Fort Mose, which is the first free place for Black folks in this country, or in North America, as we know. Fort Mose, down outside St. Augustine. He spoke 7 languages. And one language he spoke was Arabic. So yes, but he will become Catholic there at Fort Mose and become one of the leaders. Know your story, know your greatness.
I like the way this feel. Yeah. Let my soul cry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Minister, we gonna speak from the heart on this one. I'm performing lyrical funerals, no obituary. I killed your boy and brought him back to life. Pet cemetery. My anointing not based on attendance at a seminary. Scarlet witches, they attracted to the visionary. Everywhere I go, I bring the word with me, missionary. Soldier drafted in the war machine, military. Pay attention, what I'm saying to you, legendary. You got the demeanor of a front desk secretary. That mean you take the calls, but you don't make the calls. That's why you hate, cause ain't nothing fake about me at all. Now I dare you try to say that with a straight face. My delivery in tip-top great shape. I'm too advanced for you, light years, space age. No evolution for you cavemen, stone age. I'm a thoroughbred, rock solid. I came from the bottom to the top, rock climbing. I grew up in the hood, pros and cons. That's that full court pressure when the ambulance roll out their stretcher. Why can't you see it's not logical? And you live diabolical. Boy, your point of view smaller than the hair follicle molecule. This for all of them that follow you, smoking all of them barbecue. When I pull up, your voice don't correct itself with no auto-tune. I got a whole nother level that I can enter whenever I gotta deal with the devil. I pick a whole nother method. I hear a whole lot of yapping. They wanna see my reaction. I'm really out here in the community making it happen. I don't really think they understand the dilemma. They ain't looking at the man in the mirror. Can't say it in the clearer. The plan is very simple. It's time to start playing in the temple. Before somebody come and put the can on your temple. Reaching like a baby with his hand for the nipple. The Grand Reaper coming with his hand on the sickle. In the van coming with a ram with it. When the van come and get him. I am so glad that I changed up. Made it out of where I came from. Watch for the slide and the hook of the slow ball, fast ball, and that change up. That ghetto lifestyle, it changed us. Go back to visit, it ain't changed much. Only difference is now the way that my brain process information. And Satan, been after my license day one. Let me say something. Only reason that I'm still alive today because God's grace is amazing. Just another raisin in the sun. Dream deferred when things occurred. Now you getting served right on the curb like a lemonade stand. I just gave you the benediction, let the whole church say amen.